A ginger cat named Rusty lived in the shadow of the elevated train tracks of Chicago's L system. His home was a narrow crevice between concrete blocks, and his dining room was the random scraps of food generously scattered by the bustling streets of the Windy City. He was one of countless homeless cats trying to survive in the urban jungle, but in his bright green eyes shone a special spark of curiosity and independence. Rusty had learned to navigate the complex city landscape quickly. He knew when it was best to cross the street, where to find the tastiest leftovers near street vendors selling Chicago-style hot dogs, and which alleyways offered the warmest shelter on cold nights. The sound of the L trains rumbling overhead was his familiar lullaby. One sweltering summer day, seeking refuge from the scorching sun, Rusty accidentally wandered into the Clark/Lake L station. The smell of old metal, dust, and something unknown lured him in. Carefully slipping past the legs of hurried commuters, he found himself on the platform. The light from an approaching train momentarily blinded him. Rusty fearfully pressed himself against the wall, but curiosity quickly overcame his fear. When the train doors opened with a loud hiss, he cautiously peered inside. Passengers, tired after their workday, sat staring at their phones or looking at advertisements. No one noticed the small ginger cat who timidly stepped into the car. Initially, Rusty felt awkward. Loud noises, sudden movements of the train, everything was new and unfamiliar. He huddled under one of the seats, observing the bustle around him. But the longer the ride lasted, the more curiosity awakened in his feline heart. He began to cautiously emerge from his hiding place, exploring a new world on wheels. He jumped onto an empty seat by the window and watched with wonder as tunnels, blurred lights, and the faces of other passengers floated by outside. Despite the noise and crowding, there was a special atmosphere of community in the car. People, so different and busy with their own affairs, were momentarily in the same space, united by a common goal: to reach their desired station. Rusty, without even realizing it, became part of this temporary microcosm. At one of the stations, an elderly woman with a kind smile and gentle eyes entered the car. She noticed the ginger cat dozing on the adjacent seat, and her face broke into a smile. She carefully reached out and stroked his back. Rusty woke up, but didn't run away. On the contrary, he rubbed his head against her hand, purring with contentment. Other passengers also began to notice the unusual passenger. At first, they were surprised, then they smiled. Someone shared a cracker with him. Someone took photos with their phone. Rusty seemed to enjoy the attention, behaving as if riding the L was a completely normal thing for him. Thus began the unusual story of a ginger street cat who became a secret passenger on Chicago's elevated train system. He didn't yet know that his accidental journey would change not only his own life, but also the lives of many people he would meet along the way. With each passing day, Rusty became bolder in his underground and elevated travels. He quickly learned the train schedules on the Brown Line and neighboring branches. It seemed he knew when and where passengers were going, and he would choose a car depending on his mood or simply out of curiosity. His favorites were the morning trains, filled with sleepy office workers and students. Rusty loved to doze on vacant seats, warming himself in the morning sun that streamed through the windows of the elevated sections. Sometimes he would wake up and lazily observe their tired faces, as if sympathizing with their morning routine. In the evening trains, carrying people home, there was a different atmosphere, tired but more relaxed. Rusty might stroll along the car, soliciting affection and occasional treats. He learned to distinguish the kind people who were willing to share a piece of their sandwich or just scratch him behind the ears. Incredibly, Rusty seemed to know the rules of L etiquette. He never imposed himself, didn't jump onto passengers' laps without invitation, and patiently waited his turn for a pet. His calm and friendly behavior surprised and touched people. Word of the cat who rode the L began to spread among passengers. People started to recognize him, waiting for him on platforms. Someone even started keeping a special container of cat food for him, leaving it at one of the stations. Rusty became a sort of symbol of unexpected joy in the daily routine. His appearance in a car always brought smiles and conversations between strangers. He broke down the walls of alienation that often arise in a big city, giving people moments of warmth and spontaneity. One young woman named Chloe, who rode the same line to work every day, became particularly attached to Rusty. She always carried a small bag of treats for him and often told him about her day, as if he were her silent friend. Rusty patiently listened to her, purring in response to her kind words. Chloe started taking photos of Rusty during his travels and posting them on social media. Soon, he had his own page where passengers shared their encounters with the traveling cat. Rusty became a local celebrity, his photos appearing in city blogs and even in small newspaper articles. He was called different names: the Elevated Prince, the Feline Conductor, the Rusty Ranger. But for most, he was simply Rusty, an unexpected ray of light in their daily commutes. Despite his popularity, Rusty remained an independent cat. He came and went as he pleased, choosing his route and company at his own discretion. He was a free spirit who simply loved riding the L. But amidst all the city bustle and chance encounters, Rusty still remained homeless, seeking warmth and comfort in random places. He didn't yet know that his L journeys would lead him to something much bigger than just temporary attention and scraps of food. One rainy autumn evening, Rusty, soaked to the bone, entered a nearly empty L car heading towards Evanston. He shook the water from his ginger fur and looked around for a dry spot. His gaze stopped on a young woman sitting by the window, thoughtfully watching the raindrops sliding down the glass. Her name was Leah, and she was a veterinarian who had just finished a long day at an animal clinic in downtown Chicago. She loved her job, but today had been particularly exhausting. Leah noticed the wet cat cautiously approaching her seat. Usually, she didn't allow stray animals to come near, fearing infections, but there was something in this ginger cat's eyes that made her pause. They were sad and yet calm, as if he was seeking not only warmth but also understanding. Rusty gently rubbed against her leg, leaving a wet ginger mark on her jeans. Leah sighed, but didn't push him away. Instead, she carefully lowered her hand and stroked his head. His fur was cold and damp. Unexpectedly, Leah felt a strong wave of compassion for this homeless creature. She knew how hard it was to survive on the streets of a big city, especially in such weather. The train stopped at a station, and several new passengers entered the car. Rusty fearfully jumped back from Leah and huddled under her seat. Leah looked at him with concern. She noticed a small wound on his ear and his overall exhaustion. When the train started moving again, Leah carefully coaxed Rusty out from under the seat, offering him the remains of her sandwich. The cat hesitated at first, but then eagerly devoured the food. Throughout the rest of the ride, Leah didn't take her eyes off Rusty. She felt that a special, invisible thread had formed between them. It seemed to her that this cat wasn't just another stray animal. There was a story in him waiting to be told. At her station, Leah hesitated. She knew she couldn't just leave Rusty back on the street, especially in his condition. Giving in to a momentary impulse, she carefully picked up the cat. Rusty didn't resist. On the contrary, he snuggled against her, seeking warmth. Getting off the L, Leah wrapped Rusty in her scarf and quickly walked towards her home in Evanston. She didn't yet know that this rainy evening on the train would become the beginning of a new chapter in both of their lives. In Leah's cozy apartment, Rusty initially felt a little disoriented. He cautiously explored his new surroundings, sniffing every corner and piece of furniture. The smell of cleanliness, warmth, and cat food was unusual for him, but pleasant at the same time. Leah patiently waited for the cat to get used to his new environment. She put out bowls of food and water for him, arranged a soft bed in a warm corner of the room, and gave him time to settle in. Soon, Rusty's fear began to recede, giving way to curiosity and cautious trust. He stopped hiding and began to timidly approach Leah, purring in response to her gentle words. Leah examined the wound on his ear, treated it, and checked his overall health. Besides some minor exhaustion and a few scratches, Rusty was quite healthy. His calm and affectionate nature completely won Leah's heart. She knew about his adventures, had seen his photos on social media. Rusty wasn't just a stray cat, he was a local celebrity, beloved by many Chicagoans. Leah decided to give him a name, Metro. This name reminded her of their first meeting and his unusual past. Metro quickly responded to his new name and seemed to understand that this place was now his home. With each passing day, Metro became more relaxed and confident. He loved to sleep on the sunny windowsill, watching the bustle of the street, play with a toy mouse, and purr on Leah's lap during her evening reading. His habit of riding the L gradually disappeared. Now he had his own warm home, a full bowl of food, and a loving owner. Why would he wander the underground and elevated tunnels? But the fame of the cat from the L did not fade. Passengers still remembered him with a smile, sharing stories of their encounters. Chloe often asked Leah about Metro on social media, happy that he had finally found his home. Leah started posting photos of Metro on her page, telling about his new life. His calm and happy face in these pictures touched the hearts of many people who followed his story. Metro became not just a pet for Leah, he became her friend, her companion, her little ginger guardian angel. He filled her home with warmth and comfort, dispelled her loneliness with his purring and affectionate presence. Sometimes, sitting on the couch in the evening with Metro on her lap, Leah would remember their chance meeting in the rainy L car. She understood that this meeting was no accident. Fate had brought them together, giving both of them a new meaning in life. The story of the ginger street cat who rode the L became a symbol of unexpected kindness, life-changing chance encounters, and the fact that everyone, even the smallest and most homeless, deserves love and a home. And Metro, the former elevated traveler, finally found his haven in the cozy apartment of a veterinarian in Evanston, leaving behind the shadow under the tracks and becoming a true star of his own happy life. Years passed. Metro, the once ginger stray, transformed into a luxurious house cat with a glossy coat and a self-satisfied purr. He had fully settled into Leah's apartment, considering it his kingdom, and her, his loyal subject. His morning rituals included a lazy stretch on the sunny windowsill, a demanding meow announcing breakfast time, and playful leaps after a sunbeam dancing on the wall. In the evenings, he invariably settled on Leah's lap while she read or watched television, his quiet purring filling the room with coziness. Despite his comfortable home life, Metro never forgot his past. Sometimes, hearing the familiar rumble of an L train in the distance, he would lift his head, his green eyes becoming momentarily pensive. Leah noticed these moments and understood that a part of his heart would forever remain connected to the underground and elevated tunnels where his free and unpredictable life had once unfolded. The fame of Metro, the cat who rode the L, evolved into an urban legend. New commuters heard about him from old ones, his stories were shared on social media, and his photos occasionally appeared in nostalgic posts about old Chicago. He became a symbol not only of unexpected kindness, but also of the chance connections that can arise in a big city, even in a mundane place like an L car. Chloe, who had first documented Metro's elevated travels, became a well-known blogger writing about city life and its unusual inhabitants. Metro's story remained one of her most popular topics. She often met with Leah and Metro, telling her followers about his happy home life. Other people, inspired by Metro's story, began to pay more attention to homeless animals in the city. Donations to local shelters increased, and stories of rescued street cats and dogs became more frequent. Metro, without even knowing it, became a kind of symbol of compassion and responsibility. The Clark/Lake Station, where Metro first embarked on his unusual life, unofficially became known as Metro the Cat Station. Local artists even painted a small mural on one of the platform walls, depicting a ginger cat thoughtfully looking out the window of an L train. It became a kind of monument to the unusual passenger who once brought joy to those daily commutes. Leah often visited this station, remembering that sweltering summer day when her life unexpectedly intersected with that of a small ginger cat. She would smile, looking at the mural, and feel warmth in her heart. Metro had given her not only companionship, but also the understanding that the most unexpected encounters can bring the greatest happiness. Metro's story even inspired a children's author to create a series of books about the adventures of a traveling cat on Chicago's L system. These books became bestsellers, and the image of the ginger cat exploring the city on trains became beloved by children around the world. Metro lived a long and happy life in Leah's cozy apartment. Even in his old age, he retained his playfulness and love for affection. His purr remained as gentle and soothing as it had been that rainy evening when they first met. When Metro passed away, Leah mourned her ginger friend deeply. But the memories of him always warmed her heart. She often looked through his photos, remembering their shared evenings and his quiet purring. Metro's story continued to live on in the hearts of Chicagoans. It became part of the city's folklore, a kind and touching tale about a cat who found his home in the big city thanks to a chance ride on the L and the kindness of one person. It was a reminder that miracles can happen even in the most ordinary places, and that love and compassion can change lives for the better, one purr at a time. And the ginger cat, who was once just a shadow under the elevated tracks, forever remained a legend of Chicago's L system.